Good evening, everyone. I am Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents and ESP Book Chats. We'll be bringing page turners your way. We have a guest tonight, and it is Sameerah Lynn. And I'll put a book up here. Also, we have other events that are coming in the neighborhood. Tomorrow, we'll have another show. We switch our Thursday show to Wednesday, but we'll talk about that. And hello, Oprah Jones. Thank you for coming in, Oprah Jones 88. Thank you for coming in the room. Hello to you. There you go. Hi, Miss Ellen. Wait, wait, I can't hear you yet. Wait.
I don't know why. I don't know why I can't hear.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I was muted that whole time. I didn't even realize I muted myself.
Yes,
Yep, I'm glad this is you. I didn't know which name you were going to use because there's two different names I've seen.
yes, it is. Yes,
So this the one you would use going forward?
yes. This is the one I'll use going forward.
Okay.
Yes,
So thanks for being here. It will be talking about your book. The I don't know if it's the first or the second book, but the book that we will be talking about titled "Unlock Your Mind: A Guide on How to Think."
yes.
Okay, so we'll talk about that one. I don't know if you have it there. But you got so many components. I was going to go to uh, chapter 4, but the first
Mm-hmm.
three have so many components in it. It's no need to give it all away.
Right.
So in that first one, well, first of all, tell us who you are, the different components of yourself, and why you penned this book.
Yeah. So my name is Sameerah Lynn. I'm an author and a writer and a self-publisher. And this book came idea to me from having children who are all different ages. So it's elementary, middle school, and high school. So they all have different ways of thinking and different ways of how they're going through life. So this is how I came with the book on how to think because each of my children think a different way at a different age. And I have to teach them as they're young the critical ways, to know how to think clearly going into this world. So this is
Mhm.
why I made the ebook on how to think, a guide on how to think.
Oh, that's awesome. That is really
Yeah,
awesome. And I seen it when I first seen it. It's not only just for teens; it's for adults as well. As I seen that, and
yeah,
I didn't know until I looked and you were talking about the teens in there. And so I said, "Well, you know what? This is for everybody. Really, it is for
yeah.
everybody. But to catch them at that age, one of the things you talk about in your content, you talk about the role, as you said, the role of critical thinking and
Mm-hmm.
personal and intelligent development. Tell us about that. Why is it so important to have those connecting critical thinking as in your personal, intellectual, and development? I like how you broke that down into those three components. But let's start up with personal first.
Well, first off, critical thinking. It's the ability to think clearly and rationally, understanding the logical connection between ideas. So, it's crucial. It helps you separate from emotion bias and outside influence. So that's why I broke each down separately so they can get a clear idea on each section.
Okay. And then when you're thinking, like, let's say, I don't know your children's ages. What are your children's ages?
They go from 3 to 26.
Wait, how many do you have?
6.
Oh my, you look really
Yeah.
good.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
look really good. So
Yeah.
let's just say with that pool of ages, and so we're talking about you can grab any random age you want when it comes to intellectual.
Yeah.
And we know that we have like I know they say just talk to your kids like they're adults. Do you think that they can handle or are they ready for the conversation? Let's just use one of the kids at a certain age, Laura, what your youngest or in between, and you're speaking to them intellectually and you're asking them something. Should we speak to them not like baby terms, but enough for them to understand how do we reach them in those knowing have they heard us? What is the intellectual, I want to say pull, but not really, that we have to pull from when those various ages you have when we're talking and we're trying to convey something to them? How do we do that without going over their head for those different age brackets?
Right. Well, for my children, they often come to me with questions. Like my one that just turned 17. This is his last year. He has one more year of school. He's got to do his SATs. He's got to do college touring. And he asked me, he said, "Mom, I don't know what to do."
Mhm. That's fair.
So, yeah. So I don't want to send him off to college and he just takes up a subject or, a course that he's going to quit maybe in a year or two. So
Mhm.
I always ask my children, what are you good at? And I'll point out what I see them often doing, whether it's making music or you're a good writer or a good journalist or a good artist. I ask my children, what are you good at? That's what you should be pursuing. And
Mhm.
then you start taking baby steps and breaking it down on how you're going to get, to where you want to be. And, with the money that you want to make and, whatever your vision is, you have to break it down into steps.
You
So that's how I work with my
go ahead.
children. Yes.
I like that because I'll say in general, my kids' ages they're in their 30s. The girls are in their mid 30s,
Mm-hmm.
and then he'll be 28 this year. And I
Yes.
like how you say that because there's time that we as parents want to put our constructs on them that we want them to go to college for this, and maybe they might want to go for music, maybe they might want to go for programming. I'm not saying neither one of those are good, but sometimes we want
Right.
them to do something. But I like the way you said and if you want to do something, see what you're good at and those things, rather than to have a child that goes to college and not finish or not do those things. And I know, like my sister, her children, one or two of her sons, she have three sons and one daughter,
Yeah.
and they all those that went to college, got their masters. And so one son, I can't remember which one it was, he said, "Don't worry about me. Don't waste your time with me, even trying to go to college or anything. I don't want to waste your money." Now, if your son had said that with you, or any parent, is the parent to feel like they didn't do something right, or is that okay for a person to say, maybe I just don't want to go to college, or maybe I just want to work in the working field? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, I never pushed my children to do the traditional things on go to school, go to college, good grades, you get a career. No, because that's a false dream. Because you're not living your dream, you're living someone else's dream.
Mm,
So I always want my children to pursue what makes them happy. Because you want fulfillment in life. And if you keep thinking a job is enough, you're never going to get nowhere. So I
mhm.
always want my children to reach their highest goals and even, surpass me. I want my children to be better than me. And, I want my children to be proud of me. So that's why I became a writer. So to get my name known, to get my name speaking in houses, so they can be proud of who they're around versus what they see on social media and people that they'll never see, maybe at a concert or in passing, but you'll never get that full, connection like you do with your parents or family. So I always want my children to be proud of me.
I like that. I'm going to reset, Samara, and I hope I said your name right. It's Samara.
Yes. Samira.
Okay, okay. And Sameerah Lynn is our guest here, and her title for her book is Unlock Your Mind, a Guide on How to Think. And earlier she was talking about how she was gearing toward her children. She has six children, and she looked fabulous. I,
Thank you.
she said, so she's just fabulous. And so we're talking about some of those components. She has is it ebook only, or is it paperback or ebook only?
Well, yeah, I just made it into an ebook,
Okay,
but I'm
it's
thinking about pursuing it into an actual book
it's
because
a
people are asking me, yes, they want to read it like a paper book.
And I have the link up there. I don't know how this works when you see the link. Hopefully, y'all can see it later. And I'll put it
Mhm.
in there in later. And so, what I was telling Samira is she has a whole plethora of things. And we're only going to talk about the first in this particular book. We're going to talk about three of her books, but today we're only talking about this one. And it's a lot of content, a lot of components, I would call it. And we're only on that first chapter that we talked about, and we were talking about the personal, uh, critical thinking, and intellectual. Now the development. So how do we know if our children are developing a certain way? Like we know. Like I told you, I have four children. I have four children, three daughters, one son, and I have two grandchildren. They're sons. I don't have any granddaughters, but I have girls. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so when we look at that, and hear people say, I treat all my kids the same. And for me, I don't
Mhm.
treat them all the same because I know one may need more of emotionally. So one might need you nurturally,
Yeah.
to nurture, and one might just need you to leave them alone. And so when we look at those different developments in that type of what I'm saying now, those stages, how are we, or you as a mother of six, uh, not saying you put a timetable on development, but there should be some development things going on. So when you talk about critical development, let's talk about that.
Well, my children are all different, so I can't treat them all the same. I have five boys and one girl. Yeah, so my daughter needs the most attention out of everybody. So that means I have to watch her the most because she's the clingiest.
Mm-hmm.
So with the boys, they understand that because she's a female, and they don't take away from that because they know that a female needs more love and attention from the mom.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she
Mm-hmm.
gets that, and there's no in between and no, confusion because you let your children know why this is the way it is, and they accept that. And you have to learn, children have to learn to accept things too,
Mm-hmm.
and have accountability too, and not just put everything on the mom or the dad.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I do my children.
That is awesome. And I know, like, I'm going to hit you with this one because this is the world we live in. When we say, when you just mentioned that the girl, you have a girl and there's certain things that she need. And so I do believe that, some people, they'll put it like in a gender role. Now, I do believe that when it comes to roles, a guy he should be able to cook, he should be able to clean, that type of stuff, but there's some things that are, I believe, that are cut out for a male and female. It's just the way our body works and just the way we're doing those type of things when it comes to that. So when you look at that and the construct of the world and how, they talk about, different things about, gender roles, or how do you look at that today as people say, well, just because she's a girl don't mean it, right now, what they say now. How do you handle that, Sameerah?
Well, there's no gender roles in our house because everyone has to learn how to do something. Because one day you're going to be on your own. So you have to know how to cook, clean, and take care of your own household. So, yes, my daughter has to take out the trash. She has to wash the dishes. She has to, go outside and shovel when it snows. She has to do everything that the guys do, but not
Hmm.
as heavy.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
yeah, so it's equal partnerships in here. It's a teamwork. We all work together because if we don't work together, then it's going to be a malfunction. So yeah, so everyone has a role, but there's no like division.
Hmm. Hmm. I love
So
it. I
so
love
yeah,
it.
they got yeah they no there's no division.
Now, keep in mind, we're still in chapter one. That's why I say it's a lot of good stuff in this stuff. And so you
Yeah.
talked about the catalyst for self discovery. So I had to really write my notes down, so because I'm not trying to remember all this. So,
Right. I get
so
it.
when you talk about that, you talked about some. There's some components I'll call when you talk about catalyst for self discovery. You talked about in personal growth. You also talked about flexibility, resilience, and the third one, if I numbered them right, it is not
Mhm.
just academic pursuit, long life access, and then you got more propelling individuals toward intellectual depth and personal growth. So there was a lot of stuff in that one when you talk about catalyst for self discovery. So
Right.
all those things in there. When I read this and I look at it as a reader, I look at it as the whole person, mentally, academically, and individually, and the depth of personal growth. Let's talk about those components. I'm just throwing them all at you at the same time.
It's okay. Well, to be a catalyst, you have to be a helper to others. So that's my thing. I always want to be a helper to others. And if I can be a helper to others, then I'm teaching someone else something that they can also teach someone else. So it keeps getting passed along. And you want to question your ideas about the world. You always want to question things. Don't just accept anything in life. So I feel critical thinking is always a big part of life because you're always thinking, you're always getting ideas. And before you take those ideas or steps, you want to question if it's right or not.
Hmm.
And you have to push emotions, to a side to really think clearly on, the ideas that are thoughts or actions that you're about to take.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I always teach my kids, you want to think 5 times before you speak.
Mm-hmm.
You want to think clearly, like you're not thinking with just emotion. You're thinking with logic as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I like to teach as a catalyst.
I think about that, and like I said, with all us, our children, and I'm just speaking in general, and I'm not speaking for you, I'm just speaking for myself, or in general, as generalizing women or
Right.
mothers. And so when I think about my kids, um, I wasn't driving then when it was younger, so that driving was not important, but it was uh, writing a check and different things. It was important, but I wasn't just there myself until I started doing. I went to college and I did accounts and received little ledgers and different things like that,
Hmm.
but I didn't use it. You see what I'm saying? And so
Right.
my goal with my kids was making sure that they knew that the Lord is their identity and that they become human beings that are well behaved in society. And I know that outside of me, I can't put them in this bubble because the world is going to eat them. So I pretty much prepared them for the outside world. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
More
Right.
so than trying to put different constructs on them. It was like prepare them for life. So you have 6 children. And so the things that it sounds like I'm not saying you're like me, but it sounds like-minded that you are my kids, but there's a real world. I'm
Right.
going to always be your mama, but the world is going to suck you in. So I need to prepare you for these things that may come against you in the world. Is that your mindset? And could you tell us about that?
Oh, absolutely. Protect your children from the world. Like I'm watching, like I can see outside the birds, the nest, if you come near the nest, they will attack the nest. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel the same way with my children. You come near the nest or my children, I'm going to attack. But I know I can't always be there. So I need them to, when they go out into the world, to know how to think for yourself. And don't just follow the crowd. Always take the road less taken.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, my daughter's in college now. I have another one going to college in another year. So that's two out into the world that I'm not going to see every day.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I always prepare them from a young age into the age they are now. How to think like critically, like especially if you get pulled over, or if your friends, if one of your friends is, drinking, like, make sure you're on point. So it's important to me.
Yeah, yeah, that is awesome. I'm gonna reset right now. Thank you, Queenie Clem, the literary ambassador. You would want to get a hold to her, and Angela Anderson, present her as well. Those are people to get in contact with. They are wonderful people in the literary world. We have also 2 or 3 gathered that's on here saying good evening, ladies. Good evening to you as well. And
Mhm.
sister, I hope I said that right. Thank you for coming in here today. We have Sameerah Lynn, and we're talking about her book. It's titled "Unlock Your Mind: A Guide on How to Think." And so, how important is it to think? You know, some people always say, "You're doing irrational thinking," or to think. What are we doing when we're thinking? People say you think. What are you doing in the process of thinking?
Well, in the process of thinking, you're thinking about what you're about to do. But
Mm-hmm.
most people don't think beyond the action of what they're about to do, because every action is going to have a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're drinking and you're driving, you can hit someone, you can take a life. Most people don't think that way before they drink the drink. Even when it comes down, you know, to my children with they start dating or they want to, have sex with their girlfriend or boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
you know, think, what you're about to do, because you can bring a life into this world that you're not ready for.
Mm-hmm.
So I always teach my children and even other students that I meet, even friends, like, think beyond the action,
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to be. a good or bad results on depending on how you see it and how you view it.
Mhm.
So
So
it's,
are you also an educator as well?
well,
You're a
I'm
teacher.
a mentor and I'm a speaker for suicide prevention in Virginia.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
that's where I met you, and we will talk about that. We're
yeah.
gonna put our finger on that. We will
Yeah.
talk, and that's where I met you at on that, and I thought that was very awesome just to talk about that, and plus being a mom and could go through these things. One of the things also that you talk about in chapter one is understanding the component.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. I wrote some bits and pieces of thinking and perception. You talk about analysis,
Yeah.
breaking down the components, and then the info parts, if I can understand in my writing, and involved examination and synthesis.
Yeah.
If I said it right, I wrote it all. Let's talk about that understanding components.
Yeah. So with perception, how we how we see the world is through filters and through beliefs and experiences and emotions. Like whatever your children see, that's what they're going to imitate. So sometimes they're going to challenge your beliefs because sometimes old beliefs aren't good. So that's where perception comes into play. And with analysis, in my notes I wrote down, you want to break down info, ideas, problems into, smaller parts. Uh, like for an example, like if a goal wasn't met, why wasn't the goal met? And
Hmm.
you can break that down, for the next month, and, so yourself to do better. You're analyzing, where you're at. And with the synthesis, it's putting pieces together from a new idea or a solution, how it connects innovation and creativity. Because I feel as human beings, we are naturally creative beings. So we should
Hmm.
always be innovating and, making new things come to life all the time. That's where thinking comes into play. Do you know how to think?
Mm.
Like, can you bring something to life?
What you have, and you say uh, you have five boys,
Yeah.
right, and one girl
Yes.
in this day and time. With the boys, and we're talking about this and this same component, breaking those components down. And I know that, like I say, I have more girls. I have three girls and one boy, and I don't even know why I want to use this example, but it may not even be connected in our conversation, but it makes sense to me to say this. When I have one son, and I thought that I could have the same talk with my son when it comes to dating, saving yourself, you know how you tell the woman to save yourself, for when you get married and this and stuff. And I'm trying to have this talk. My husband, we're military, and I'm trying to
Right.
have my this talk with my son. He's like, "No, I'm not talking about this with you. I'm going to talk to dad about this stuff." And so when I said save yourself, and he was like, "For what?" I was like,
Right.
this didn't go well with the guy because I had nothing more than, just in case you get married and different things like that. What was that talk about? We tell our women, our little girls, save yourself, keep yourself purity, different things like that. And
Right.
now the generation that we're in now, the conversation is, that's not realistic. So what is this conversation with you? And that's about the best I could do as far as separating those talks that you would have with a girl versus a guy when it come in that area.
Right. Well, with my sons, me and her dad always met the females that they were dating, and we would go to the house to meet the parents. We always did. It was never you can be alone or by yourself or I'm going out on a date. No, we would go too. We would drop you off and we'll pick you up, and we usually had one of the other siblings go with them, so so they can be watched. And my oldest son, he is married, and he has three daughters, and he got
Oh,
married. He got married at 18, and he met the female, and he said, "Mom, I want to marry JL. Her name is JL. And I asked my son, I said, "You're sure? You're only 18?" And he said, "Yes, I love her. This is who I want to be with." So they got married young. And then he went off to the Navy, and they have moved down to Virginia in Norfolk. So I always teach my kids the foundation of putting God first, a
Mm-hmm.
husband and a wife, because we want to break, the generational, the broken family homes. I don't want that for my children.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
always teach them how a household should have a husband and a wife, God first, and then everything will follow. If you follow God first.
What was that like for you, like being 18? I've experienced that,
Yeah.
them being married early, one of the daughters. But what was that like for you? Was that, well, let's just say it this way. In the preparation, even though he said he wanted to get married, we know he's 18. That's young, but they did it back in the day. Did you
Right.
feel like, uh, did you feel like that preparation for him going out, standing on his own? Because some guys are really, really mature.
Yes.
Uh, so I would imagine from our talk just a moment ago that there was some preparation. And when you ask him, was he really sure? In that thinking, since we're still talking about thinking.
Right. Yes, he was adamant about it. He was stern. Me and his dad asked him more than once. And he said, "I'm a man. I can take care of my family. I know what I'm doing, and that was it. And we let
Wow.
him be.
And now that's how many years later?
They're 6 years.
Wonderful. 6 years and three kids.
6 years and three girls.
Girls.
Yes,
Wow, the
all
reverse
girls.
of
All girls.
granddaughters. Wow,
Absolutely all
that
girls.
is amazing. It's so much more in here that we talked about. And one of those uh, things that you talk about is exploring and making sure try to read my and I may have skipped a little, but that's one
Hmm.
of the ones I tried to get like the main. Everything is main, but just some of the simplified. It's exploring the connection between thinking and decision making. Loved it, loved it. I just kind of grabbed some of them. So how we do that? How do we explore the connection between decision, thinking and decision making? Does it cross when you're thinking and you're making a decision? Or how do we do this?
Well, that comes from when you do self-reflection.
Mm.
See, when you sit still and you think about where you at, and if you feel you're on your right path and you're reaching your goals, you're reaching where you need to be, you're marking off your checklist, you're on the right path. But if you're stuck or you're stagnant, then that's the time you need to sit still, do self-reflection, see what's going on in your life so you can get yourself back on track, because you shouldn't be unhappy in life. You should be enjoying every day. And if you're not, then that means you're not on your right path. You're out of
Mm.
balance, and you need to get back on balance and back on alignment. So that means you have to sit still, start praying, talking to yourself, going within, and and seeing where you're at in life. What's your insight, what's your vision, and what happened that got you stuck. And
Mm.
sometimes, we scroll, we get the blockages, and we want to sit still, and we go on social media and we want to scroll, that'll keep us stuck. So I have done that. So when I think about scrolling, or if I have a block, I'll go do some push-ups. Oh, or I'll go read 5 minutes in a book, or go journal. Always get my mind, thinking to get new ideas.
Mm.
So that's what I do.
When when I
Self-reflection is very important.
well, when I think about making decision, I know nowadays we let our children make decision. I'm not talking about deciding on what foods you're going to eat either. I'm talking about decisions, and I thought that was a part of being an adult. That's a big thing that we had to make those decisions.
Right.
You could decide if you want your hair braided or not. But I think that we give that part away too fast to our children. Decisions, simplistic, yeah, but decisions that's life causing, I think we give that away a little bit too much. And so, like you mentioned, like with your son being married, and when you're single, you can, and then let's say you're single and you have children. If you're single and you have children, the decision you make, even like going to a grocery store, you can't just buy something that was just for you. You have to, at least that's where I think when I go to the store, it takes me hours because I have to see what makes a family meal.
Right.
So I'm grabbing things that make family meal decisions versus just grabbing this, and it's not a meal complete for everyone. So that's what I
Right.
think about when you make those decisions, or you made a decision for military wives, being that you said they're military, and they have that power of attorney. And some guys used to give that to their girlfriends, and they come back, they got a home, a car, and all this stuff
Right.
because they
Right.
gave that power of attorney. Let's think of it I don't know how much you know about a military, but in a military sense, with that power of attorney being that huge decision that you can make in proxy of that other person.
Right.
So I'm looking at that decision being that huge. So that's a great component.
Right. So you're asking me about the power of attorney of?
Mm-hmm. Oh, are you familiar with how military, when they have that power of attorney, that the person, hopefully they don't do it now when they uh, dating. I'm just saying using that as the decision, how you can make decisions that will hurt, the whole family. And I use that military component because I know how important decision is. And so for you to have that as a component, that's a really good thing to think about in connection with thinking, because it could
Right.
hurt everybody.
Right.
So that's what
Right.
I
Yeah.
thought about that. Hmm.
Yes. Well, yeah, my son, he did leave all decision making to his wife.
Hmm.
So he also, I believe he gets money and she gets money. It's like an equal thing that they do. So
Hmm.
everything that has to get signed off of, she takes care of that. She does.
And he
But if
trusts
it's
her with her.
something,
Go ahead.
right, yeah. But if it's something important that, she needs a second guess on, she does call and she will ask
That's good.
before she does something that, because it affect him, her, their
Right.
household, you live in situation. So yes. So we
Yeah,
definitely we're aware of that, yeah, because we have been through it. So yes.
that is great. That is great. That's what I thought about that decision there. And you'd also talk about, wait, let me resetting again. And I guess it's Sameerah Lynn, and we're talking about her book. Um, now, it escaped my head. Go ahead. Do you have the book? Oh, no, it's a Kindle. It's
Yeah.
a Kindle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the Kindle where you could show it? Because I had it up here, but I can't put it up in here. But I did have it up before you came up. But as Unlock Your Mind, a guide on how to think.
Right.
And
Yes.
I had put it up here later. So if you guys came on in the beginning, you'll be able to see that book there. Um, I
Yep,
think
I have it on my
it's a
own.
wealth, Samara, it's a wealth of information that you have in there, and breaking all
Yeah.
of those components. And you talked about the vital role in human connotation and behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Vital. You said thinking, reason, and imagination.
Yes.
Wow. Let's talk about that component.
Well, with that is especially using the word vital because that's life.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we all have behaviors, but you don't want to judge people off their behaviors because it can be a temporary behavior. So, we're human, and we're gonna make mistakes. It's going to happen. It's going to it's you can't avoid it. So that's why I broke that title down like that because you can't just judge someone off their behavior because they're not always going to be that same person. And you want to see people, you know, for what you truly see them as versus where they're at right now. So if
Mm-hmm.
I see, a child or a teenager, acting out, I know that's not really them. They're just calling out for help.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
That's gonna bring us, and that concludes that part. That's gonna bring us, and we'll be back. Our we'll be back again on today's the 20th, on the 27th. We'll come back with you. And so and then we'll have our other one on the 5th. We're going to skip one over on the 5th of June. That's going to be our next one. So that carries us over.
Okay.
Um, but you talked about, and especially when I met you, you talked about suicide and bullying. So let's talk about that. What brought that topic to your forefront to talk about that? And that's where I met you at, in one of our shopping areas where you and one of your partners, you guys were talking about bullying and suicide. Let's talk about that.
Yes, well, I've always been a mentor and a helper with children. I always worked with children. That's been something like my passion for a long time is to always, be there for the children. So when I had moved from New Jersey to Virginia, I had met a woman who wanted me to help her business be a marketing director. Now, becoming a marketing director, it's training, and the training was, being a mentee for suicide prevention. So oftentimes we would have to go to the school, listen to stories, listen to children, tell their stories, and see what kind of connection we can do or what kind of program we can put these kids in. So it was important to me, especially after hearing the stories and especially hearing the parent stories that really got me to like, I can do this. I can help the community. And that was a big part of why I wanted to do it.
Hmm. And like you say, with getting them the right fit, not with telling whatever that was that happened to the child. How do you know without telling? Of course, I know you won't. Um, what fits what? If a certain child has a thing going on, is it the behavior part that you will say, well, this will bet fit this, this will bet fit that? What, just if you can in your wheelhouse, what can you look at to have that person in that right fit for what they need?
Well, we don't, push the issue as in, you know, we want them to tell them without us asking.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
with the children, we will often, give them a flyer to fill out with a questionnaire, and that'll help with, with the privacy. And we couldn't even tell the
Yes.
parents. Yeah, we couldn't even share with the parents what the kids had wrote on paper, because
Wow.
you don't know what can set them off. So
Exactly.
so we couldn't even share what we had with the parents. So once we gathered it all together, the director, someone else viewed it, and then we would put each type of mentee with the student that, well, if we went through something like we were suicidal with being bullying, you would know who to put which kid with based
Mm-hmm.
on what you've been through. So that's how we did it.
Wow. And that's a lot of things that's coming on now. And when
Yeah.
talking about those things, and as I say with your book, how to think, how do we the guide on, and when you say the guide on how to think, are we necessarily, we're not trying to tell them how to think, but
Yeah.
at the same time, how do you guide them into a healthier thought process?
Well, I want to. I help children and people by asking questions, especially if you're making a big decision. Are you thinking logically about decisions that you make? Because we all have made decisions and we didn't get a second opinion, and we made a mistake. So me, sometimes, yes, I do ask for a second opinion because someone can see something that I can't see or feel something that I can't see. So I feel it's important to me to think logically all the time and with a clear mind without emotions.
Without emotions.
Yeah, without the emotions, because
Woo.
emotions will have you not thinking clearly.
Wow, that's a good one right there. I hadn't even thought about that. You know, in other words,
'Cause-
kind of be biased, take your own self and your own feelings out of it.
yeah, because they say the heart is here, but the heart is always is in the middle of your head too, because this is where everything comes from. So this is why I also teach my children, other people, you want to think with this heart versus this heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yes.
Wow. This is a really it's a really good book. It has a lot of and I didn't even finish. It is the chapters are each chapter is broken down into three. I think it's 3 to 5 components, and each component has a breakdown within its component, which is
Yep.
really good. And so, writing this, what was it like for you writing this?
It was fun because I get to write it chapter by chapter, and also by watching my children too. Because in chapter two, I speak on a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when your mindset is fixed, it'll ask you questions. Well, I'm not that good, or I'm too old, or I can't do this. That's a fixed mindset. So I often push on a growth mindset. I can learn how to do this. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I you can see failure as feedback versus a setback,
That's what I
and
wanted to talk about.
yeah,
Thanks
you
for
wanna
bringing that
and
up.
yes, and you wanna embrace challenges with open feedback. Like it's okay,
Mm-hmm.
because failure is only failure if you give up. So you always want to have a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, because it'll keep you stuck, and then before you know it, time passing you by because you got that same old mindset.
I like that, and that's one of the things that I want to bring. Thank you for bringing that to my attention because even in that, I like the way you use failure, not as something that you just fall apart, but like stepping
Right.
stone. Use it like
Yes.
pretty much like fuel to go forward.
Right.
And
Right.
it was something
Because
else you said within that. It's something else you said within that. If you could keep going and skimming over that, because there was something else more. I tried to write everything I could down. I said, no, we're
right.
going to have another
Yeah.
meeting and we could just catch up with other things. But there was a lot of stuff that you said about it. You could tell us about those parts in there. We have a few more minutes. It's almost over, but go
Right.
ahead and tell us about those parts about failure. I think that would be a good um, going forward for the audience.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for myself, I have tried many things, many business, and didn't get the support that I wanted, or didn't get the help that I needed. But it doesn't make me a failure. It just, maybe I wasn't good at what I was trying to do. So I'm gonna go try something
Mm-hmm.
else, and then I'm gonna do more research, and get more skills in what I'm doing. So I won't have them same challenges as I did before.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the way I see fit.
But you wrote so much more throughout this whole book here. There's a lot of things. And so with each one, this one I will do a review on all three of the books. But there is
Hmm.
so much to pull from this book that when we come back, we'll do your other book because we don't want to give it all away. So
Right.
we'll do each of your books. The one that's coming to mind is Failure. If I said that next book right, you have three books that we're going to be doing
Yeah.
snippets of, and there are just so many components, so many different things that broke down. How long did it take you to write this book? Was it more than a year or?
Um, so I have a total of 10 ebooks. So each one took me about maybe 2 months to write. Yeah, because once you already have the idea and you have it visualized, God really breaks, like, sends you, tells you, what to do and what to write. And I just wrote these so quickly. And you have the other help too. If you need help, you have the Chat GPT. You have Fiverr. People, you can help add in, ask questions, and that's what I did. I interviewed people. I asked teachers, and editors questions, so they can help me, fill the book in, so it all makes sense and it all, collides together.
You know what? I'm still stunned. I don't know if you saw my eyes. I was trying to keep it in, but
Hmm.
10 books and
Yeah.
as thoroughly written as it is, just this first one I'm looking at,
Right.
and you said 2 months per book.
Yeah, because about 2 years ago, I was a night auditor at a hotel. So at night, while after I did our reports, I will put all my ideas together in a notebook, and then the next night I will go home and and do the cover, and then I will start filling the chapters, and then I will start putting everything in place by place, and then I will read it over, then I'll read it over again, and that's what I did that night.
Wow. And that book cover, I like the book cover to this one too. You
Right,
have a young man, it looks like a big old forest. And
right.
then is he walking forward or just standing still? Because his back
Well,
is to us.
right. Well, he's standing still because he doesn't roll. He doesn't know which road to take, the left or the right. And you
Hmm.
have to make a sound decision. You know, what does your spirit feel? Should I
Hmm.
go left or should I go right? And that's giving you a way to think too, because you're giving your body time to think on how to feel and which direction to go in life. And I feel that's how it should be. You should be led, by your spirit and what you really feel and which way you should go in life. So it keeps you on that on the right path.
Wow. And this is a big forest. It's just not a person just sitting here and it's a small space. This is a
Right,
huge forest. If you would think like Abraham and Lot choose what side and the whole vegetation and it's just lots of greenery. And
right,
so what I noticed about that book cover, I was like, is he going forward? Is he going to go left? Is he going to right? So that perception, you talked about that perception, was a
right.
great thought process that I had just from the book cover. And I like each book cover that I've seen, and they'll see the other one, you know, to the story. Was it, did it take you, how long did it take you to say, hey, I want this cover for this, I want that cover for that? Was it within the pages of what you were writing, or did it just come to you um, before you start the close of your book, or for all three?
Yeah. Well, for me, when I'm writing a book, the cover goes first. For
Mm.
some reason, like I can see the cover first, and then I can do everything else. Because sometimes when you walk in nature, they have these paths, and should I go to this path or should I go to that path? Because that path might be bumpy. I don't have the right shoes. That path might be have water puddles. You never know which path you should take, so you should always feel which direction you should go. So
Mm.
that's where the vision came from me walking, on one of my journeys one day.
Wow. Wow.
Right.
What would you want, since you've written this, and like you say, you thought about teens in mind, and I say this book is for everybody. It's just not a certain uh, young adult, and kids will have you simplified for kids. They can also learn from this as well. And
Mm-hmm.
with this, what would you want those listeners that are listening or those teens who may see this or whoever see this in replay time just from this book alone, the first book, what do you want them to take away?
I would want them to take away to, always know who you are, where you at, and where you're going, like your true identity, because you're going off into the world and you want people, they're going to see you and you want to, they're going to meet you. So you should always be your authentic, true self. So you know who you are and you're connected with yourself. And then once people they meet you, you're your real authentic self. And that's what you're setting out into the world, realness. And that's what I want people to, take away from the book. So always
Mm,
thinking about who you are and be your best self. And always, be that in the world. Be your best self and don't let no one take that from you or tell you who you are. Or their opinion shouldn't even matter because you know who you are.
that's awesome. You mentioned it earlier ago, a conversation, because I listened to everything, and you
Yeah.
mentioned about your kids, you are preparing them for the outside world. If they see this video and your kids, what would you want them to now seeing you? And now, um, I'm pretty sure they know you're an author, but we're getting to know you. Those who are watching here is getting to know you, and you're very refreshing just talking to you now. What would you want your children? Because I'm sure you're going to go further with these books and even more into what God has for you and in your writing style. Absolutely love it. Excellent writer. what would you want them to see you now as this day one going forward as an author, your children?
Oh yes, I want my children to know that, you know, I'm the superhero. They don't gotta look in the world for no other, power outside of this, that they have everything here. I'm the biggest supporter that they'll ever need. And I'll always be there for them, no matter what. I'll always support you because my children support me in everything that I do.
I love it.
And yeah, I'll always be there for them, no
Wow.
matter what.
You are
Yeah.
amazing. I cannot believe 6 kids. And I was like, wow, from meeting you that day. I don't know if we talked about kids or anything. And
No,
people get a perception of, I'm like, okay, I don't know if she have kids or not, you know.
right.
But to
Mhm.
say you have 6 kids is it's not wearing you out. You know what I'm saying? It's not motherhood fits you well. You know what I'm saying? I would never thought 6 kids.
Yeah, right now, yeah, the 3 and 5-year-old, they're downstairs. And I told their older siblings, I gotta do this live. I gotta speak about my book. Y'all know how important this is. I need them to be quiet. They cannot bang on the door. They cannot ask for mommy. I need y'all help. Y'all know I need this. And it's quiet. It's been quiet the whole time. And that's how
Beautiful.
a family should be. It should be support. Like, and this is what me and my kids have. We have a real true
I
connection. So,
love it. I love it.
so I appreciate them. I'm grateful for them very much. So,
Awesome. And they gonna love every moment of this. You guys, you are that are here that are watching, do share, swipe, and share. Sameerah Lynn. You're gonna hear that name a lot. I love that name. And do go out. It's on Kindle. And some of your books are 99 cents. Some of them are free. And so
yep,
look it up.
yep,
Look her up. I'm gonna put that link there. And you mentioned when I first met you that you're going to you
right
showed me a
here,
book cover, the children's book. You showed me the book cover,
right,
and that is an amazing book. I cannot wait. I don't know if you could show the cover. I don't know if you want to disclose this book, but it is beautiful. The
right.
children's book. Do you mind telling us a little bit about that children?
Which children's book is
This
that?
the
Because I
one
have
that I see, the one that you showed me. The I can't
the
think
mouse
of the
that talk,
name.
the
Hmm?
mouse that talk karate,
Yes.
the mouse that talk karate. I should have that up here. Yeah, that's going to be launching in 2 weeks. The Mouse That Taught Karate. It's under tow right now. Someone is doing the cover and everything, so
Hmm.
we're getting it together.
Could you give us
Let's see.
a little glimpse of it? Just, I'm nosy and I'm sure
Yep,
they're going to be nosy
yep,
too.
I'm trying to pull it up right now on my laptop. But I have it right here.
And I
I
don't
can
know,
just flip
are you able,
through.
I don't know if you could able to share it or how we're able
Oh,
to
I
see it. They
can. Let me
flip,
see.
flip your camera to it and I don't want to keep
All
you
right,
too
so
long on that.
there it is.
That
The
is
Mouse That Taught
beautiful.
Karate.
It's
Yeah.
so much more in person, guys, if you see it. Could you tell us a bit about it while you're here? Just a little snippet of the,
Oh yeah, so the Mouth That Taught Karate, it's a book about bullying, and it's going to be in the local schools, and they actually picked the book up, so they actually want the book, and it's about a mouse that in his town they were getting attacked by cats. So this one mouse went to the human world and started seeing how they defend themselves. He was watching through the window how they do karate. So he learned what they did and took it back to his town and taught all of the mouse how to do karate so they can defend themselves when the when the cats come again. And that's what they did.
I love it. I love it.
Yes, yes.
Where can we reach you and where can they get your books? Is it on Amazon only or at other places?
Yeah, I'm on Amazon. Let's see. They said I am in local thefirstbooks.com, so I'm pretty sure my books is global worldwide because I made sure
Awesome.
that it's set up that way.
Awesome. When you get a chance, when you get some time, just um, drop those book links or whatever, and
Oh
you
yeah.
could put them on there. And it has been amazing here talking with you. we'll see you
Yes,
the next time, which will be the 27th. And we
absolutely.
switched one of our days, guys. We were supposed to do the 13th, but the one on the 13th is going to be June 5th. And so we'll
Yes.
be
Oh,
back again and we'll talk about her other two books. Guys, this won't be the last time you see her. Do go look her up. And she, like I said, she have a couple of, I can't tell you which ones that are free, but she do have some free books on Kindle. And just a great writer, a great thinker. So you guys check her out, swipe and share. Sameerah Lynn, thank you for being here today. You have an
thank
amazing
you so
night and
much, Alan.
hug them babies because they did
Yes,
good.
yes, yes. They did good. Yes, I'm thankful. Yes.
Have
You
an
have a good night,
amazing.
Michelle. You
You
too.
too.
Thank
You'll hit that. You'll
you.
hit that X. You're so welcome. You hit that X up there, and
Mm-hmm.
that'll bring you down.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
You're
Okay.
welcome. All right.
Good night.
Good night. So, guys, that is our guest tonight. She'll be back again. She'll be on the 27th as well as June 3rd. And that is Sameerah Lynn and her book. Guys, as I said, look at Sameerah, Sameerah, Lynn, Lynn. Look her up on Kindle. And so she has some free books as well. The book we talked about tonight, um, we were talking about tonight, it has a plethora of things in there, and you guys will enjoy that book of hers. And it is a guide on, now I'm forgetting because I'm just tired, guys, the truth. But that is a wonderful book of hers. I will put it here so that I can show you guys. I am getting tongue tied. This was such amazing talk here, and I'll put that book here. We'll have another book of hers. So this is the book that we talked about, a guide on how to think. Um, this is her book there. And so that's what I was talking about, her book, how it shows the greenery right there. And you can see um, how the young man is in there. He doesn't know what to do or which way to go, as we were talking about. And it has a lot of components in there, guys. And this is Unlock. So it's a title that it has. I don't know how much you can see, but Unlock Your Mind, a guide on how to think. And so that one is what we talked about today. So stay tuned for her other book. I'm going to put it up so you guys can see it and you can find it on Kindle. And like I said, she does have some free books there too. Um, and some of the books, like it's 99. This is what we'll look at when she comes back on the 27th. We'll talk about this, How to Face Your Failures. That's another wonderful book. That's what she says. She does uh, well thought out things on how she does her book covers. She look at them first. So this is the next book that we'll talk about. Just get it, replay time, and check it out for our next talk. And you guys can put in the comment section. It is a Q&A. So we are also going to have uh, author local. Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much. You said that was very informative. Thank you so much, and thank you for being there, guys. We're going to have an event here in Newport News, Virginia. Sameerah may be there, and you'll see her live there. It's going to be August 16th at noon. Authors, the early bird, we only have two more seats for that. And then the regular table is 125 without. If you have your table and the box lunch included, and then the other one is 150 without a box lunch. Book clubs and general public, it will be free to come in. We're going to have our next flyer, which will have our author listing. You'll see who all will be at our event. You guys have an amazing night. Thank you for being here. I'll put that book back up there, her book. So we'll end it with her book, the next book that is coming up. So you guys can see it. I'll push it up there really quick. And again, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for your swipe and share. You guys have been amazing. Here is the next book that we'll talk about, How to Face Failure, and it's by Sameerah Lynn. You guys have a wonderful night. Take care. Bye-bye. And don't forget, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. Um, Tony Lindsay, he's going to be here live tomorrow. We switched this show from Thursday to tomorrow because we'll be going out of town. So I want to make sure that we do his show before we leave. And so, guys, that is his book. Guys, this book is so good. It is absolutely good. What If I Don't? It's a murder mystery. It is a good book. Tony, you did it. You did it. You guys have an amazing night. Thank you. Bye. Good night.